Like, Russia and Israel continued pounding of Ukraine in Gaza. Russia even attacked a U.S. plant in Ukraine. Peace talks are on. The recent 3-hour summit between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska concluded with smiles, handshakes, and praise, but no peace deal was sealed. The summit sets the stage for another round of discussions, this time involving Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is slated to meet President Trump in Washington on Monday. During the summit, Putin praised Trump, stating, "Today we hear President Trump saying that if he were president, there would be no war. I think that would have been the case. I confirm that." Putin also expressed a sincere interest in ending the conflict in Ukraine and cautioned Kiev against sabotaging potential talks. Following the Alaska summit, Trump briefed Zelensky and other EU leaders. Zelensky subsequently announced his travel to Washington for discussions on a peace deal. U.S. President Donald Trump proposes a direct meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to help broker peace. After successful talks with both leaders, Trump urges them to meet one-on-one first, before a potential trilateral summit. This move could mark a critical step toward resolving the Ukraine conflict.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has laid down some very clear conditions for Ukraine to agree to a peace deal, but the United States has still not clarified the extent of the role in meeting demands and expectations of both Ukraine and Russia. But Putin has 4 main demands. Number 1 is that Ukraine must give up eastern Donbas, the region that is Ukraine's industrial powerhouse and provides approximately 56% of the country's hard coal reserves. The second Russian demand is that Ukraine should renounce its ambitions to join the NATO military alliance. Now, Kiev has been eyeing the alliance's membership for years and years now in an attempt to embrace a more European identity, much to Russia's dismay. Now, Putin's third and fourth demands are that Ukraine must remain neutral as a country and lastly, keep Western troops out of the Ukrainian territory. Reports suggest that Putin has softened his territorial conditions for peace with Ukraine. Last year in June, the Russian president demanded that Kiev should cede the 4 provinces which Moscow claims is part of Russia: Donetsk and Luhansk in eastern Ukraine, which make up the Donbas region, plus Kherson and Zaporizhia in the south. The developments have come a week after the Russian president met with his US counterpart Donald Trump at a summit in Alaska. Trump then met with his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky and leaders of 7 other European nations.
Here it is, Europe's version of strategic autonomy. 6 European Union leaders, Zelensky and even the NATO chief, all lined up. And right in the middle, Trump. Notice the pattern. Whenever Europe talks about standing on its own feet, the picture somehow ends up with Washington holding the crutches. 9 leaders trying to show strength against one man, Putin. But in reality, it looks less like autonomy, more like a family photo, where Uncle Trump insists on sitting in the center.
Melania Trump sends letter to Putin on Ukraine's abducted children. Imagine this. Putin agrees. Melania Trump wins Nobel Prize. Wonderful.
President Trump delivered a personal letter written by First Lady Melania Trump to Russian President Vladimir Putin, urging him to address the issue of abducted Ukrainian children. Without diverging much details, White House officials confirmed that the letter specifically mentioned the abductions of children resulting from the war in Ukraine. While the existence of the letter was not previously reported until now, it highlights the role of the First Lady in addressing the deeply sensitive issue. Ukraine has called the abductions of tens of thousands of its children a war crime that meets the United Nations Treaty definition of genocide. They claim these children were taken to Russia or Russian-occupied territory without the consent of family of guardians. Russia previously claimed it had been protecting vulnerable children from a war zone. The United Nations Human Rights Office said Russia inflicted suffering and violated rights of children since its full-scale invasion of Ukraine began in 2022.
Like Navarro, Trump aide, said road to peace in Ukraine passes through India. Surprising?
How sustainable are those secondary tariffs against India, and how important are those to hold Russia accountable?
Well, let's talk about India. I would refer you to the piece I did in the Financial Times that appeared on Monday. And the Indian situation is very interesting. A lot of people don't know this, but prior to Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 22, India India bought virtually no Russian oil. Let me say it again. Prior to the invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, India bought virtually no Russian oil. I mean, it was like 1% of their needs. So the argument somehow now, as the percentage has gone up to like 30 and 35%, that somehow they need Russian oil to cool their homes or cook or drive their cars is nonsense. And what I do in the Financial Times article is I illustrate how Russian refiners have gotten in bed with Italian refiners in a game in which they get cheap Russian crude, follow me here, they get crude at a discount, and then they make refined products which they sell at premium prices into Europe, Africa, and Asia. It's strictly profiteering by the Indian refining industry, big oil.
Like, FBI has raided ex-NSA John Bolton after his criticism of Trump and support to India. Bolton has also written a book.
FBI is now raiding on Trump's former national security advisor. The FBI on Friday searched the Maryland home and the Washington office of the former national security advisor, John Bolton. Now, these investigations are part of his handling of classified information. When asked about the raid, the US President Donald Trump, he distanced himself from the development but also lashed out at his former aide. He even called him a lowlife and unpatriotic. This investigation is focused on John Bolton's handling of classified material. Interestingly, raids came a day after he criticized the eccentric US president's handling of ties with India and the imposition of punitive tariffs.
I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife. When I hired him, he served a good purpose because, as you know, he was one of the people that forced Bush to do the ridiculous bombings in the Middle East. Bolton, he wants to always kill people, and he's very bad at what he does. But he worked out great for me because every time he doesn't talk, he's like a very quiet person, except on television. If he could say something bad about Trump, he'll always do that. But he really doesn't talk. He's quiet. And I'd walk into a room with him with a foreign country, and the foreign country would give me everything because they said, "Oh no, they're going to get blown up because John Bolton's there." He's not a smart guy, but he could be a very unpatriotic guy. I mean, we're going to find out.
Like, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has fired LT General Jeff Cruz as chief of Def Intelligence Agency over his report on Iran, which contradicted the U.S. claim of fully obliterating Iran's nukes. No dissent.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Friday fired the general who angered President Trump over his damage assessment of U.S. strikes on Iran. Officials gave no reason for the firing of Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz, head of what's called the Defense Intelligence Agency. It follows a June assessment by the DIA that strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities had only set their nuclear program back by a matter of months. That contradicted the president's public claim that the buildings had been, quote, obliterated.
Like, U.S. Justice Department has published transcripts of Ghislaine Maxwell, partner of pedophile Jeff Epstein, in which she has denied charges against Trump. Obviously, the jailed lady wants to be alive. That's U.S. democracy for you.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never.
Did you ever observe, you said that have you seen there's photographs, public photographs of Mr. Epstein and President Trump together?
Yes.
And there's photographs of, I think you're in some of the photographs as well. Those all appear to be social settings.
Yes. That's my memory. There were social settings. I don't know Epstein's if he had, whatever the nature of the president's friendship, if you will, or however you want to define that with Epstein, I was never witness. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
When's the last time you think you saw in person President Trump?
It's been a long time. Probably not. Sometime in the mid 2000s maybe, and it would only have been a social setting, as far as I recall.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never. In any context.
Do you know whether masseuses from Mar-a-Lago spa ended up giving massages to, private massages to Mr. Epstein? I'm not asking for what you may have read, but from at the time, from your personal knowledge, do you know whether that's true?
I don't recall. Is it possible? Yes. But I don't remember that. So I don't recall that, but it's possible.
Do you have recollection of you ever recruiting a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago Spa to go give a private massage to Mr. Epstein?
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago for that, as far as I remember. I can't ever recollect doing that.
Sanglikar's weekly, the ink never dries. Sanglikar's weekly, it's all here for you.
Like, Marius Borg Høiby, son of Norway's crown princess, is charged with 32 crimes and 4 rape cases. And you thought only our ministers' sons indulge in such things?
Norway is facing a royal scandal, or royal adjacent scandal. The son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit, Marius Borg Høiby, has been charged with 32 criminal offenses, including 4 counts of rape and several acts of domestic violence. Prosecutors say the offenses span several years and also include cases where Høiby allegedly filmed his victims without consent. The most serious charges carry a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. The royal palace says Høiby holds no title and is not in line to the throne. He is Mette-Marit's son from a previous partnership, and they stress it will be up to the courts to decide his fate. Here's State Attorney Sturla Henriksbro announcing the charges earlier today.
He's charged with 4 rapes, with indecent assault in close relationships against a former partner, and against another former partner. He's charged with several acts of violence, breach of peace, damage and violation of a restraining order.
Like, wildfires in Spain and Portugal have become uncontrollable. EU countries are sending help.
This garage in eastern Portugal was Jose Antunes' livelihood. Now it is skeletal, surrounded by burnt-out cars and scorched earth. But he says he is lucky he survived.
Suddenly, a strong wind came up, a terrible gust, and I saw the flames about 100 meters away, 5 or 6 meters high. That was when it got really close, and my wife started shouting, "Let's go!"
The wildfires in Portugal claimed a 3rd victim on Wednesday, as firefighters and rescue workers continued to battle the flames that have been burning since late July. The north and centre of the country have been the hardest hit. Across the border in neighbouring Spain, high winds hindered firefighting efforts. Troops and water-dropping aircrafts were called on as a backup to try to control and extinguish 21 blazes in the west, which authorities considered a direct threat to communities. Here in Galicia, residents were reeling. The fire that gutted entire hamlets was the largest in the region's history.
I'm very sad. It's very painful. Our elders will disappear with the pain of seeing this irrecoverable landscape.
The wildfires have consumed nearly 400,000 hectares of land in Spain. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said they were more proof the climate emergency is getting worse and that the country needs to readjust and recalibrate how it prepares for and responds to natural disasters.
Like Nick Clegg, former Deputy Prime Minister, UK has returned to UK from Silicon Valley in USA. He complained. They dress alike, drive the same cars and listen to same podcast.
Dread to think what Nick Clegg is earning these days, but he's certainly now at the top table and has become one of the key lieutenants to Zuckerberg.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope he's being paid well because you know the reputational damage that he's risking obviously is enormous, and that's not because of him. It's because of what Facebook is, and of course, Facebook has been playing fast and loose with government regulation for many, many years, particularly on data privacy. The effects of abusing people's data is now felt in terms of online abuse, in terms of exacerbating hate speech, in terms of all kinds of data, you know, adverts being sent, fake news, all of these things. At the root of it is the collection and abuse of personal data. And now, of course, they want to do this even greater by having this thing called the metaverse, where apparently every single facial expression and twitch of our eyebrow is going to be recorded and turned into advertising capital for Facebook.
Pakistan is calling on the United States to take responsibility for the arsenal that it has left behind in Afghanistan after the 2021 withdrawal. Now, according to reports published in The Economist, Islamabad wants the United States to buy back the massive stockpile of American weapons that it claims are now circulating in Afghanistan's black market. It is argued that these weapons are now being used to fuel violence in Pakistan and they threaten national security, with military spokesperson Lieutenant General Ahmed Sharif Chaudhry saying that everything is available to the highest bidder in Afghanistan. The authorities in Pakistan claim that these American-manufactured weapons, including the M16 rifles, the PVS-14 night vision devices, and thermal optics, were used in the deadly March 11th bombing of the Jafar Express train.
Lazy B. 23rd August 2025.